My name is Ethan, and I'm going to be doing my AP presentation on the rise of sea levels. So why is the rise of sea levels happening? I want to describe this event with the domino effect. So as seen here, the domino effect is a chain reaction that causes a cumulative product of previous events. And just like dominoes, when you push one item down, everything else kind of follows. So how does that apply to sea levels? So when we first look at the industrial revolutions, we burned a lot of fossil fuels in the factories, and those cause emissions of carbon dioxide exponentially, which created a blanket over our atmosphere, causing the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect will then warm up our planets and our oceans, leading the warmed oceans to cause ice plates and icebergs to melt from both above and below the sea level. So why I want to describe this with the domino effect is because we started off with the increase in carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, and that led to one thing and another, ultimately causing the rise of sea level rise and the loss of land, the increase of flooding, and such on. So looking here, I've included some facts on sea level rise. Throughout the past century, we have seen the rise of sea level increase exponentially. And a recent poll in 2004, sea level was 2.6 inches above the 1993 average. And looking at the graph to the left, since 1880 to 2000, we've seen this great change in sea level change in about 20 centimeters. And we can say that it is estimated that the sea level will continue to rise at about 1/8 of an inch each year. So how does this affect us? So there's a lot of things that the rise of sea level will affect us, but one primary thing is the change in ecosystem. And we do have a lot of small islands in the Pacifics like Guam or Taiwan or Hawaii. And the rise of sea levels will change those ecosystems dramatically, and it could possibly have those islands lose tourist attractions. On top of that, we can also see a change in coastal regions. So any areas near the beach where when sea levels rise, the ecosystem will change and people will be losing their homes if this continues to go on. Something else I want to mention is loss of habitat. So not only do we lose our homes near the coastal regions, but animals in the north and south will also lose their habitats as well. A lot of polar bears and seals will rest on ice sheets or ice plates, and when those are melted, they don't have anywhere to stay or go or seek protection. Something else I want to kind of mention is the increase in flooding and thermal expansion. So these items do happen over time in our coastal regions, where the rise of sea levels will increase our flooding and thermal expansions due to erosion and the wearing down of our coastal regions that protect us from these items. So what can we do about this? A temporary fix that people have been proposing is environmental adaptation. So people will start making makeshift homes, like floating homes, and building seawalls. However, those are only things to help us fix the present. But what can we do about the future? These two items I'm going to talk about is something I've put in my paper and I've emphasized dramatically. So education society on the effects of sea level rise. So going back to how does this affect us? The society may not know all these items that may be going around, but if we do teach them and let them know about the effects of what sea level rise can do to us and to maybe animals, tourist attractions, and so on, people may be well informed and take on a different lifestyle, which leads to my next point. So a future fix is living a different lifestyle that promotes sustainability and clean energy. Within the past century, we have developed great clean energy, renewable energy, and better sustainability in our systems. So I think that's such an important aspect in us implementing clean energy, renewable energy into our daily lives, where if we do continue to live off emissions where all the cars are bringing out more carbon dioxide, increasing the carbon dioxide in our air, it's not going to fix the problem at all. So the biggest proposal in this is to live a different lifestyle that will help us promote this clean energy lifestyle and ultimately help us fix the future problem of the rise of sea levels, where we can reduce carbon dioxide. So next, I kind of want to talk about this article I found across the web. This was the first article that came up when I said, when I typed in counter arguments for sea level rise. So just by looking at the title, we can see the rise of sea level is the greatest lie ever told. This caught my attention because when people want to learn about sea level rise, they don't normally go to something be like the greatest truth or the greatest lie. So by just looking at this, it was really shocking to me to see that people were brave enough or knowing enough to put this type of title saying that sea level is the greatest lie. Looking down at the last paragraph, they've quoted a doctor or a scientist named Dr. Morner, and he states that all of the claims about sea level rise are 100% wrong, and that they are all based on computer module predictions, where his findings are based on going to the field and observing what's actually happening in the real world. For one, I want to point out, when they typed out 100%, they put 100 per and then cent separately. And just by this statement, it didn't provide me with any facts or statistics on why sea level was a lie, but instead it seemed like a biased opinion to me. Why I pulled up this article was because it was the first article to pop up when I searched up kind of arguments for sea levels, but this article was so strongly stated and advocated against sea level that I didn't need to argue against this current argument, because in itself didn't make sense. By just looking at these statements, these biased opinions. But overall, in conclusion, I do want to state that sea level rise is not a joke and is proven statistically with many scientists, and sea level rise is increasing at an exponential rate. The impacts not only affect us, but the habitats all around the globe, both north, south, and so on. However, one last thing I want to point out are the temporary fixes and future fixes that we do need to address. So one of the main priorities, as I mentioned earlier, is to educate society and learn about all the different things that's happening around us, and also to live a different health lifestyle. So these things seem rather important to not just me, but everybody around us, where we're trying to make a change in the world as we see climate change approaching us. But overall, that is my EP presentation on the rise of sea levels, and this is my works cited. Thank you so much.